Greetings and welcome to my Back to School and Beyond video series. Now, this is the fourth in a series of short videos. I'm showing how to use what is known as the matrix method as a tool to enhance social emotional learning for students as well as for staff. So if you want to catch the other videos, I have the links below. You can check them out. There's a video that shows you how to flex up your students, get them ready for learning. Another video about working with groups, how to bring them together for shared purpose. And another one that I did about how to enhance attention to what matters. Now, you don't need to watch any of them to watch this video, so just hang tight. You're here for goal setting. That's what the title says. Now, goal setting, in my opinion, is a tricky business, especially when you're requiring someone to set goals. Now, I've spent many years in the classroom. I first started out as a social studies teacher and then later as a school psychologist, so I know firsthand about the perils and the pitfalls of attempting to have students set goals, kind of like herding cats, you know? So, well, to keep things in mind, the thing that you want to keep in mind with students is that if they choose to set goals, it's going to be because they have someone or something out there that they want to move toward versus you or someone else generating the goals for them. Telling them about goals or stressing the need for goals doesn't work, in my experience, in the long run because all humans really want to resist stuff they don't want to do, or especially when they're being told to do it. So the motivation really it has to come from with them. So the way to do that is you have to start right where they are. Now, the beauty of the matrix method is that when you use it, you're really not trying to get anyone to do anything, at least not in the moment. You're showing them a point of view, a way to look at things. So when you approach students with a show rather than a tell mindset, they are much more likely to follow along and collaborate with you. To help anyone get from point A to point B, you have to start at point A, which is right where they're at, right there in front of you. That's point A. So if you start from where you want them to be, well, you've already, if you start kind of at point B, well, you've already missed the boat and resistance shows up. So I'm not a big fan of creating resistance with students. Instead, I'm going to show them this matrix method. So if you want to go for control and having them come up with goals, well, there's nothing wrong with that. You can certainly do that. But the matrix is really not that kind of thing. So just give you a heads up at this point, because I don't want you to feel like you have to hang in here if this is not something that you want. But if you have this idea that maybe there's another way of going about doing it, stay with me. So here it is. I have this diagram that was developed by Dr. Kevin Polk. And it's a simple little diagram. It's got senses at the top. It's got mind at the bottom, satisfaction over here, relief over here. It's really just two crossed lines and a question I like to put right here to get things started. So I highly recommend that if you're going to give this thing a try, that you have this already set up somewhere. Like don't wait and start drawing it. Have it already in front of you, behind you, on a whiteboard, a chalkboard, a smart board, doesn't matter. Just make sure it's there. It's going to save you time. So it's ready to go. So then the way that I would proceed from here is I would say something like this. Can I show you a point of view that I use when I'm trying to set a goal or figure out where I want to go? So right there, you've already accomplished something because we've gotten permission. Everybody's going to say, yeah, okay. And they are now more willing to let me show them something. They're just willing to let me just sit back. That's all I'm asking them to do. They don't have to commit to anything at this point. So it takes the pressure off, no resistance. And now they can really just sit back and take in what I'm about to show them, right? So we begin with the invitation. Now, for the purposes of showing you today, I'm going to put up something in just a second here. I've added some more language for this demonstration, and there are questions that you're going to be seeing on the diagram, and they're already set up to get this goal setting process started. So let me just go to that right now and getting my share going, and there you go. So now we have the diagram and it's got the questions already set up. So I'm going to use that diagram. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, the first thing I think about is I think about who's important to me. So for me, it's my wife. How about you? Who might be important to you? Then they're going to respond. They're going to say parents, friends, uh, coaches, teachers, whatever they say, you're going to write it down in the lower right quadrant there. I might also then be asking this question, well, what's important to me? Well, for me, teaching, helping my students is important to me. Um, you know, doing things for other people. Maybe I have a hobby. I like to play disc golf, so I'll put disc golf down there. How about you? What's important to you? They're going to start to tell you. You know, having fun, hanging out with their friends, playing video games, sports, whatever they say. I'm going to jot all that stuff down. And what we're doing with these two questions now is we're activating their intrinsic motivation, which is basically having them recall the people and the things that are important to them. So thinking about these things is highly motivating and they like it. And that's exactly where I want to begin this process. Now, depending on time and circumstances, we could just have a good old time just talking about that sort of stuff. And at the same time, you're learning a lot about the student and you're modeling for the student how, you're kind of someone who has important people and things as well. So, in all likelihood, I'm going to go ahead and say this, no one's ever asked them this question before because I've had students go, wow, no one's ever asked me that before. So it's a novel kind of a question. And it's coming from a place where I really am interested about who and what is important to them because that's their motivators, folks. That's what's going to be getting them up and in the seat there in the morning is those things. So if you start here and you take your time, you're going to be a long way toward helping them move toward what matters to them. Now, I'll go over to that lower left, and I'm going to say, and sometimes when I'm trying to do something or trying to get somewhere, yucky stuff shows up inside of me, like uncomfortable feelings and thoughts. A big one for me is like fear, for example. It can show up and I don't want it. It can really feel like it's getting in the way of what I want to be doing. How about you? You ever notice yucky stuff like fear showing up? And they're going to start to tell you. Well, yeah, fear of being wrong. They might feel bored. They might be tired. They might be afraid of making mistakes, that they're not going to have friends. Any of that stuff. We're going to put that down there on the lower left. That's the yucky stuff that shows up. And if you're getting responses like this, folks, you're cooking and your students are engaged and they're engaging in this process with you. So you got some good stuff going on here because think about it. To even think about doing something that's important to you, you're going to also experience some yucky stuff that goes along with that if you really want to do it. And students are the same, just like us. We're all just a bunch of humans. Part of setting goals are these natural reactions that you don't want to have. And what we're doing with this goal setting process is we're making it okay to have them. We even have a place to put it. Instead of ignoring it, trying to push it away, all that, we're just going to place right there. It's going right there in the lower left because it's going to show up. So we're just saying, okay, part of the process. So now I go to the top left. And now I'm going to say, now up here, I write down the things that I try to do to get relief from my yucky stuff. So when fear shows up, hey, I might run. You might see me run to go and get some relief. Now, everybody does these kinds of relief things all the time, and we basically need to do things to get relief. So how about you? What do you do to get relief from your yucky stuff? So if they're bored, they might say, I put my head down, I take out my phone, I talk to somebody else. Fear, I feel like leaving, whatever. And you're just going to write that stuff out there. These are relief moves that they do, and we're just putting it up there. So after we do that for a while, I might then go ahead and add Do I want to do less of these things? Are there other things that I could be doing instead? And I just might ask myself these questions. So if something shows up, I might write that up there, and or they might. But if they can't think of anything, that's okay. We were just kind of piquing their interest, piquing their curiosity, showing them how the process works, and we just keep moving on. Just keep moving on. And what I'm doing here is now I'm setting up that doing things for relief is okay, and that we can take a look at what we're doing for relief with no judging, no right, no wrong. We just look at it non-judgmentally. And when we do, it's easier now to see what's really happening and if there may be some other things that we can do. And there may be other ways to achieve your goals. So having options, like there's lots of ways to get there. My Aikido sensei says there are many paths up the mountain. So, what we want students doing when it comes to any type of figuring out where they want to go is knowing that they have some options and choices along the way, some things that they can try out. So finally, we come to the behaviors for what we might do for satisfaction with who's and what important, right? So here's how I do that. Now, over here in the upper right, I'm going to ask myself, well, what do I do to get satisfaction for who and what's important to me? I might call my wife. For teaching, I might prepare my lesson, make sure my students have what they need to participate, that sort of thing. How about you? Well, they're going to say to you, hey, they showed up. There's something they did right away. They did something right now. And some other things that they might want to do for the people and the things that are important to them. And then again, what other things might we try? So we're now kind of going one step beyond what other things might we try. This is not hard and fast, have to do it stuff. This is in the moment. We're just kind of coming up with some things that we might try out there in the future. And always I end with noticing. I go to the middle of the diagram there and I draw a circle and I write the word noticing. And then I say, hey, we've just been noticing all of this stuff. So what do you think? Do you think you might have an opportunity to notice this stuff as you go about trying to figure out where you want to be heading? What do you think? I think I might. How about you? Most of them go, yeah, yeah, it's possible. Now we're not saying they have to, right? We're saying you might have an opportunity because they might forget. We all forget. I forget, but they might have an opportunity. And if you're going to use this diagram and practice with it a bit, they're probably going to see it again. So you kind of just leave it up there. You might leave a blank one up there that they can refer to. And this is kind of your process and their process that anybody can look at anytime when we're looking to set some goals or anything else. And the big thing that gets the goal setting actions going really is the ability to notice, reflect on yourself about where your actions are leading you. So I use this matrix method as a point of view that students can use to really set their own goals eventually. If they want help, fine, I can do that too. And that's another action that they can say that works for, goals. Getting help when you think you need it. I know I do. I consult people and things when I need help. And you now have this shared point of view that you can use and look back on to see how things are going as they work toward who and what's important to them. And they can really notice that at the same time, this yucky stuff shows up, as well as the actions that they're doing both for relief and satisfaction, because pretty much got to do both. So you might say, well, hey, what if they don't do this? Well, guess what? That just might happen. I don't have an answer for that because people don't do what I tell them to do either. And they don't do stuff they don't want to do. And that's part of the being okay with it. But what you've done now is set up this method here is something to look at, a point of view that they can adopt. And you just go ahead and show them initially because this is what you said you were going to do. They don't have to do it. Well, guess what happens when someone doesn't have to do something? There's really nothing for them to resist. There's nothing for them to push back against. And what happens then, at least in my experience and the experience of many other teachers, students that have done this and used this, they're more willing to kind of be involved in the process. I've seen this happen many, many times. And again, like I said, there's certainly other ways to go about goal setting. This is not the be all, the end all. This is my way of doing it. It's worked for me, and it's worked for the students and the teachers that I've worked with over the years. So there you go, a little bit about goal setting. And if you've liked this and you like what I'm doing here, subscribe, please. Hit the subscribe button. Give me a like, send me some comments. There is some information down below, including the links to the other videos that I just told you about at the beginning. And as well as if you want to get a hold of me, I'm going to be putting out content as the school year goes on. Again, something that you want to see me do, please let me know. And I will see you in the next video. Take care.